Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles, minister and hypnotist, and welcome to Power Talk, my video blog where I cover topics that interest me, always focusing on how you can use the power of your mind to take control of your life. If you want to know more about my professional work, and I hope you do, or sign up for my free e-newsletter Power Lines, check out my website, which I'll tag in the description. If there is something in your life that you feel is out of control, using hypnosis can turn that around. Well, today I want to talk about miracles. Now, miracles are controversial. The religious communities that tend to lean supernatural often talk a great deal about miracles. They point to the miracles in the Gospels as evidence for supernatural intervention into our world. People who study world religions catalog the miracle stories from religious leaders around the world. Mythologists do the same for ancient legends. While religious people and groups that lean naturalistic tend to view stories about miracles with suspicion, as they don't really believe that the supernatural is as active a part of life in general. The famous American author and minister of my own denomination, Ralph Waldo Emerson, said in 1838 in one of his more important essays that, this is a quote, "The word miracle as pronounced by Christian churches gives a false impression. It is a monster. It is not one with the blowing clover and the falling rain." Unquote. The great American patriot Thomas Jefferson actually published his own version of the New Testament with all of the miracles removed. Only the ethical teachings of Jesus was retained. All that said, this response does sort of puzzle me. Now, my theology does tend to lean naturalistic. I believe the higher power in our universe works through the natural world in most cases, not by making exceptions to the natural order. So I get the feelings that may have motivated Emerson and Jefferson. But I've also had experiences that do seem to indicate some sort of intervention by something greater than the natural order. In my work as a medical hypnotist, I've seen late-stage cancers reverse themselves after treatment was abandoned as ineffective. I myself have survived a motorcycle accident that the police told me they considered unsurvivable. If tiny things had gone differently, I wouldn't have made it. I have seen times where things have unexpectedly fallen together to create a positive circumstance in a situation where that circumstance was astronomically improbable. When I was writing my dissertation for my doctoral degree, I struggled to remember a quotation that I really needed to make a chapter of that dissertation work, only to hear a thud across the room where a book had fallen off the bookshelf and fallen open to the exact page where that quote resided. So I'm not so quick to dismiss miracles. There is a noted theologian, Dr. Elaine Pagels, who has written some immensely important books on biblical scholarship. Her masterpiece, The Gnostic Gospels, was published in 1979 and has actually gone through 30 printings. Dr. Pagels has an understanding of miracles that I found helpful. She goes to the work of the great Jewish philosopher Abraham Heschel, who proposed that accounts of miracles are actually accounts of what he called radical amazement. Now, by that he means that on close examination of most of the miracle stories, one discovers they don't actually violate natural law, but that something more than mere natural law seems to intuitively shine through them, disclosing a hint of a spiritual world. Let me explain. There are some miracle stories in legend and even in scripture that are clearly just mythology. For example, the miracle recounted in the book of Joshua, chapter 10, verse 13, where the ancient Hebrews were fighting a battle and the sun was set in the sky at the midpoint and did not set that day. It remained at the midpoint of the sky all day. Well, okay, that could not actually have happened. If it had, our solar system would probably have disintegrated, as all the orbits of all the planets would have been disrupted, not to mention what the gravity flux would have done to the tides, to earthquakes, and everything else. Even if some miniature version of that had happened, it still would have been a worldwide phenomena that other cultures would have recorded, but there are no such records. So this really isn't a miracle story. It's ancient mythology, like the ancient Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh or the flying palaces of the gods described in the Hindu Vedas. But what about things like my book falling off the shelf and falling open to the exact page I needed to see? Well, and it wasn't my knocking the book off my desk or anything. As I said, it was in a shelf across the room. Coincidence? Well, that would be the skeptical response. Just an unlikely coincidence. But I think the philosophical person has to acknowledge that if so, it was a damn unlikely coincidence. No natural laws were violated by a book falling off a shelf, and any book that falls off a shelf will likely fall open to some page, so there are no natural law exceptions in this story. But it sure impressed the heck out of me, and yeah, the feeling was that I was being guided in somehow by God, my ancestors, my fairy godmother, I don't know, but something more seemed to be shining through that experience. It was a powerful thing. So I get the idea of radical amazement. And may you have such experiences, and if you already are having them, may you appreciate the depth of what they bring. Something shining through that natural coincidence that discloses something more. The sun may not have stopped in the sky, but something seems to have happened. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject, and I'd like to invite you to join me. It helps me a lot if you tell others about my videos, so please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you're wondering if I can be of help to you, feel free to reach out through my website for a free, no obligation meet and greet call, and we'll talk about it. Have a great week.